Back to Conservative leadership race. So I can now speak to the former Security Minister, Tom Tugendhat. Good morning.
Morning, Trevor. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. If you were Conservative Party leader this morning, what would you be saying to our Israeli allies?
Well, I'd be saying to Iran that this is no time for escalation. This is no time to be reinforcing your militias in the region and to be threatening democracies and countries around the region. Because the truth is, we've seen countries like Jordan, like Israel, suffering under Iranian threats for many, many years. And we've seen countries like Syria and Lebanon destroyed by Iran's activities in the region over not just a few years, but actually over 2, 3, 4 decades. And we need to stand with the people of Syria, the people of Lebanon, and all of those others in the region to make sure that Iran's pernicious influence through its vicious militias, like Lebanese Hezbollah, one of the largest child trafficking and drug dealing gangs in the world, and defending people against them.
Yeah, I mean, we can be as tough as we like in words on Iran, but, you know, since the end of the JCPOA, the process of softening towards Iran, they haven't listened to us. So why would they listen to what you have to say now?
Well, we don't just have to be tough in words, we have to be tough in action. That's why I introduced the new National Security Act. That's why I took action to make sure that we were keeping journalists in this country safe from Iranian threats that we've seen. And you've heard the head of MI5 talking about having 15 or so threats to life in this country because of what Iran is doing. We need to be absolutely clear. Iran is a pernicious and vicious threat, not just to the region, but also us in the United Kingdom. And standing with our allies in the region and countering those threats, whether they're manifested by Lebanese Hezbollah or whether they're manifested by the IRGC, is keeping the British people safe. And I will always lead this country to keep the British people safe.
I've been asking your rivals why they thought you lost in July. You've actually already talked about this. You've put it down to public disagreements amongst the party's senior figures and leaders. Do you really believe that this was mainly a problem of indiscipline in the ranks?
Well, I've gone further than that, Trevor, to be fair. I've also said that it was failure to deliver. You know, we promised that migration would come down, it went up. We promised taxes would come down, it went up. And so, quite understandably, people have looked at us and asked us what our record is. And we weren't able to communicate our successful record on universal credit or the amazing results we've had in education or the fantastic results that Andy Street has delivered here in Birmingham or that Ben Houcham has delivered in Teesside because of infighting, because, forgive me, but the focus of the media, quite understandably, has been on that where we've drawn attention, and we've drawn attention to the infighting, not to the success. Yeah, so the combination is that...
But the public are not dimwits. They can understand that their political figures might argue, but are you seriously saying that what they were really fooled by was the appearance of squabbling, but they didn't pay attention to Partygate? They didn't pay attention to the trust budget. They didn't pay attention to the record levels of legal and illegal migration, and that wasn't what they voted about?
So, Trevor, I mentioned migration in my roundup, so I agree, absolutely. And all of those issues come together and point to a party that had lost the trust of the British people. We need to restore trust. And the way we restore trust is by ending the culture of sleaze that sadly we've seen now infecting the Labour Party. And we need to make sure that we're bringing back the trust that British people can expect in their political parties. We need every party to be doing that, and we need it from the Conservative Party too. But it starts with making sure we get the right leadership, because as we all know, leaders matter, leaders count, and making sure we have the right leader changes the way our party will act.
Well, that's just really interesting. You're the first of your colleagues to admit that leaders matter. So let me try the same question with you. You served, or you're an MP under May, Johnson, Truss and Sunak. Who do you most blame for these failures?
Well, look, it's a combination. I'm not looking at any of those individuals particularly. I'm looking at the whole party.
Well, you just told me leadership matters. And I'm just saying, which of these leaders made a mess of it? Well, made most of a mess of it?
Trevor, the truth is that each of them bear their own share of the responsibility. Each of them got things wrong. Each of them also had their successes. You know, I will always be proud of the way that Boris Johnson stood up against Putin in Ukraine. I'll always be impressed by the way he delivered the fastest vaccine rollout in the world. Both of those are huge achievements. Now, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're building on successes like that, building on the reality of delivery, rather than on, as you rightly cited, those errors that leaders have made over the last 4 years. I'm not here to litigate the past. That's the job of people like Anthony Seldon and historians. My job is to look to the future and to offer the country the leadership that we need to take us out of the place where we are and make sure we're delivering for
All right. You're probably, of the four candidates, least well known to the public because you've had the shortest ministerial
Well,
career.
my career was to keep the king's secrets, and I did my job.
Indeed. What is it about you that the public and party members should know that would make them feel that you are ready for this role? That, you know, they've seen Cleverly in big jobs, they've seen Kemi Badenoch in good big jobs, haven't seen you. What is it that you offer?
Well, you may not have seen the jobs, but that doesn't mean I haven't done them. Serving on operations overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan, I've been a soldier. I've helped to rebuild governance in Afghanistan, in the National Security Council and in the government in Helmand. I've spent years serving the public in various different ways, including standing up against dictators, against tyrants, when I was chairing the Foreign Affairs Committee. And as you know, that got me sanctioned by China, by Russia and by Iran, a country that is now threatening us again. And I've been warning clearly for years that the alliance of tyrants and dictatorships that we've seen growing over recent years is a direct threat.
But none of this explains how you would deal with the delivery problem that you've already talked about. Government didn't deliver. What tells us that you would do any better?
Well, the way I deliver is by leading. And frankly, what we've seen in recent years is an absence of leadership. Now, in the jobs that I've had, in the roles that I've performed over the last 25 years of public service to this country, in uniform and out, I have always offered leadership. I've always offered that direction, that example that we need to follow of how we achieve the results that this country needs. Because the truth is, this is a dangerous world. There are real threats out there, and there are real reforms we need to see. That's why I'm standing for leadership of this country, because this country matters.
OK, let me ask you this last question, which is really about character. And this is not, in a way, a personal question. It is a political question, but Cameron, Etonian. Johnson, Etonian. Sunak, Wycomist. Tugendhat, St Paul's. Does the Conservative Party really need another posh boy leader from a great public school?
Well, Trevor, I think the Conservative Party needs a leader who can lead, and you can judge me on the decisions my parents made 35 years ago, or you can judge me on the decisions I've made for the last 35 years. I think the decisions I've made for the last 35 years demonstrate the character that you're looking at. I have chosen consistently to serve our country. I put myself on the front line in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was injured in Iraq and I fought in Afghanistan, and these are decisions that I took. These are decisions I took to stand up and serve our country and to put myself at risk to do it. Now, I've done that consistently. I've done it for 25 years. And putting myself on the front line means that I have been sanctioned by China, I've been sanctioned by Russia, I've been sanctioned by Iran, and I've been threatened by all three. But I will never, ever go silent. This country matters too much. It matters too much to me. It matters too much to the whole world. We need to stand up for Britain, and I'm offering the leadership that will make a difference.
Tom Tugendhat, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Trevor.